In 1929, while the Topkapi Palace in Istanbul was being converted into a museum, a piece of gazelle skin was found in a bundle of discarded material. On it, drawn in meticulous detail, was a map of the Atlantic world dated 1513, 16 years after Columbus first returned from the Americas, and 3 centuries before Antarctica was officially discovered. Or so the story goes. The Piri Reis Map is one of the most analyzed, most argued over, and most persistently misrepresented cartographic artifacts in existence. To understand why it matters, and why the claims made about it must be handled with care, one needs to understand both what it genuinely shows and what it does not. The man behind the map. Ahmed Muhyiddin Piri, known as Piri Reis, Piri the Admiral, was not simply a navigator. He was one of the foremost intellectual figures of the early 16th century Ottoman world, a cartographer, a geographer, and the author of the kitab-i, the Book of the Sea, a comprehensive navigational atlas of the Mediterranean that described in extraordinary detail the ports, shallows, currents, and strategic features of every coastline it covered. It was the definitive Ottoman navigational manual, and it established Piri Reis as a scholar of the first rank. The 1513 World Map, of which only the western portion survives, roughly a third of the original, was a separate project, an attempt to compile everything known about the Atlantic world in the wake of Columbus's voyages. Piri Reis was explicit about his sources. In the marginal notes he wrote on the map itself, a habit of the period that gives historians unusual direct access to his methodology, he listed approximately 20 sources. 8 maps of Ptolemy, for contemporary Portuguese charts, and 1 map that he attributed to Christopher Columbus. He was, in other words, a compiler and synthesizer of existing knowledge rather than a discoverer of new geographical facts. This is important for understanding both the map's genuine achievements and its supposed mysteries. What the map actually shows. The surviving portion of the Piri Reis map covers the Atlantic Ocean, the western coastlines of Europe and Africa, and the eastern coastlines of the Americas. The depiction of the Atlantic coast of South America is, for 1513, remarkably accurate, a reflection of the quality of Portuguese cartographic intelligence, which was, by that date, considerable. The relative positioning of the continents is broadly correct. The map demonstrates that the Ottoman world was actively engaged with the geographical revolution being produced by Iberian exploration, absorbing and synthesizing new information with impressive speed. Piri Reis used a portolan framework, a system of compass bearings and estimated distances between ports, extended to an oceanic scale. The map includes an elaborate system of rhumb lines radiating from compass roses, which allowed navigators to plot courses across open water. It is, by the standards of its time, a sophisticated and genuinely impressive document. Its value as a historical artifact is beyond question. The controversies surrounding it, however, concern something else entirely. The Antarctica claim, what the debate is really about. The feature of the Piri Reis map that has generated the most persistent controversy is a landmass depicted along its southern edge, a curving coastline running roughly east to west below the depiction of South America. Beginning in the 1960s, a series of authors, most influentially Charles Hapgood in his book Maps of the Ancient Sea Kings, argued that this coastline depicted the ice-free coast of Antarctica, and that it did so with an accuracy that could only have been achieved by a civilization with advanced surveying technology, thousands of years before any known human exploration of the continent. Antarctica was not officially discovered until 1820. No known civilization had mapped it. The implication, for Hapgood and those who followed him, was that a sophisticated pre-Ice Age civilization had existed, possessed accurate geographical knowledge, and that this knowledge had somehow survived into the ancient sources available to Piri Reis. The mainstream scholarly response to this argument has been consistent and well documented. The Antarctic coastline on the Piri Reis map is now understood by cartographic historians as a depiction of the southern coast of South America. Specifically Patagonia and Tierra del Fuego, distorted and displaced through a combination of factors. Medieval and Renaissance cartographers routinely adapted coastal outlines to fit the available space on parchment, compressing, extending, and bending coastlines in ways that could produce accidental resemblances to other geographical features. The specific distortions visible in the southern section of the Piri Reis Map are consistent with the practices of Portolan cartography and with the incomplete information available about the southernmost reaches of the Americas in 1513. The resemblance to the subglacial coastline of Antarctica, revealed by 20th-century seismic surveys, is a coincidence produced by selective comparison. A process in which one focuses on the areas of agreement and ignores the substantial areas of disagreement. The tectonic argument compounds the problem. The actual coastline of Antarctica beneath the ice has changed substantially due to glacial movement and isostatic rebound. Its present configuration, as revealed by sub-bottom profiling, is the product of geological processes operating over millions of years and bears no straightforward relationship to what a pre-ice age explorer might have seen. The comparison that Hapgood and his successors draw is, in the technical cartographic literature, not considered to withstand scrutiny. Why the map matters, without the myth. Stripped of the Antarctica controversy, the Piri Reis Map remains a genuinely extraordinary document. It is evidence of the speed with which geographical knowledge circulated in the early 16th century, of the fact that an Ottoman admiral in Istanbul had access, within 2 decades of Columbus's first voyage, to cartographic information that included a Columbus-attributed map and multiple Portuguese charts of South American waters. It is evidence that the Ottoman Empire was not a passive observer of the age of exploration but an active participant in the global intellectual exchange it produced. And it is, in itself, a beautiful and technically accomplished object, a piece of work that reflects the intelligence and diligence of a man who understood that the world was larger than any map yet drawn of it, and who set himself the task of drawing a better one. The lesson of the Piri Reis Map is not that a lost civilization charted Antarctica before recorded history. It is something at once more modest and more interesting, that the accumulation and synthesis of geographical knowledge is a collaborative, cumulative, and genuinely international process, and that in 1513, an Ottoman admiral sitting in Istanbul was closer to the cutting edge of that process than most Western histories of exploration have been willing to acknowledge.